Hi, I'm Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake, and this is another episode of Behind the Data Cloud. Hi, my name is Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake. Today, I'm really excited because I'm getting to talk with Brad Culberson from our field CTO office, all about Terraform and how to use it with Snowflake. Brad, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So, to really kick this off, I want to learn more about you. What is Terraform and, some of your experience there using it.
Sounds great. My time with Terraform started a few years ago. I think I have a long career working on applications. I was an engineer by trade. My entire career has been like customer-facing applications at fairly large scale. I was fairly frustrated with the ecosystem of like Ansible and Puppet and Chef, and just the complexity of managing infrastructure. And as my career evolved, eventually you get to the point where you just want to be able to destroy and bring up an environment at will. So Docker started getting its traction. I became a huge, fan of Docker. And then I started seeing Terraform develop. And, at the time I was at SendGrid, we were moving tons of things from on-premise into Amazon. And it was really nice to be able to use a tool to declaratively just say what I wanted in the destination and then have Terraform do all that work for me. It's a love-hate relationship with me and Terraform. I think there's been times where that works awesome and then times where it hasn't, of course. But I think it's a great tool. It's something fairly new to the ecosystem of tools. So a lot of people probably haven't heard of it, but it does allow you to manage infrastructure very easily. Which as an engineer, I like to do as little DevOps and Ops as humanly possible. So I love just being able to say, this is what I want. Can you make it do it? Clicking around a UI is just something that, I despise doing ever. So if I can find a tool to automate anything, I will do so.
I completely agree with that. One of my favorite things about Terraform and the fact that, with Snowflake is, Snowflake is cloud provider, right? And Terraform already works with the three major cloud providers plus more. So, it's a natural unison if you are, needing to manage cross cloud resources. In addition to Snowflake, you have one tool that you need that can do it all. So, in terms of managing those resources across those cloud providers, so that's pretty powerful. So Brad, can you show us a demo of it today?
Sure. Yeah, I think I actually have this up on guides.snowflake.com. So let me share my screen. But if you do want to follow along later, I'd love for you to go through that guide also. So we're going to start off super basic. I have a command prompt here. So what I've got here, I'll actually show you the code here in a minute, but I just first off, will show you how amazing this is. So I've got this project set up. The project has a lot of resources that I want inside of Snowflake inside this main.tf file. I've got some output variables you'll see here in a second. The rest really doesn't matter too much, but the main.tf, I will show that real quick. So this is super easy. It's going to create some users, some grants, some databases, some warehouses. All of this is very, very easy syntax. So, I don't really consider this code, even though it's in GitHub and source controlled. Something very, very easy for me to manage, even though I'm not having to debug this. So to make this work, I've set up my credentials already before the demo today. So there's a little bit of additional work that has to be done here. So it's going to tell me what it's going to do. So it's giving me a preview. It's going to do quite a bit of work inside my Snowflake account. So it's going to go out and run all of the SQL necessary to create all those grants, the user, the database, the schema, everything. That all looks good. I've seen that before. So here you go. It's got my entire account set up. So I'll share what it just did inside of Snowflake. So literally in seconds, this has gotten me inside of this. Let's see, TF demo database. So we've got the database, we've got a schema created. If I go underneath warehouses, we'll have a warehouse set up. So I have a demo warehouse. I think I started at extra small. So there you go. The TF demo extra small warehouse is cluster size of 1. So it created that on the fly. I also had it create a user account. So I now have a user account that this can, so this demo user was also created during that experiment. So, very, very quickly, in a matter of seconds, I could bring it up or also destroy it. So before I destroy it, I just want to show how quick this would be for someone to actually like make a change. So let's say actually I was a developer and I was like, man, I really want to get some work done today. So I want that to be a large today. That'd work out a lot better for me. So I'm just going to tell it to apply that change. It's going to automatically calculate the differences that's going to have to be made to make that system a large. It's done. So if I go back into that screen, so you can find out which window that was in. There we go. If I do show warehouses again, we will see demo at large. So, a matter of seconds, it was able to, bring up that environment. I could change it at will. All that could be easily controlled in source control, which I love. So very, very easy to get code reviews from peers to make changes to production environments or pre-production environments. And then also, I think, it's really nice to be able to build CI/CD pipelines around that, so that the second I do a pull request and say, hey, this is what I want, all the environments are now modified from an extra small to a large, right? So it makes it super simple to be able to accelerate engineering teams while they're trying to develop new features, especially managing their infrastructure. As you mentioned earlier, multi-cloud, I think in this example, I only was working inside of the Snowflake resources, but also I could do dependencies inside of Amazon or other systems also to create buckets and then interleave those buckets as external stages back to Snowflake, which those dependencies are often very, very complicated to manage in manual processes.
And so it's powerful to see how using a declarative config model like that, it's able to change state and match state to a declarative model like that. So that's pretty awesome. What Terraform provider specifically are you using in this case?
So this is the Chan Zuckerberg Snowflake Provider that's been generously provided by their initiative. I think they were using Snowflake a lot inside of all of their work, and really wanted to also be able to leverage Terraform because they were used to using that in other projects. So they've contributed quite a bit to that project. It is open source, so we do accept community submissions. Snowflake teams are watching that repo intently. We do assist with help, but we're not the active contributor.
Awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, they are encouraging, contributions.
So I think it's been a little hard for them to keep up. I think Snowflake is on a fast track to adding features and functionality. So you'll see like Snowflake will make an announcement that probably won't be in the provider for a little while, especially if they don't need it for one of their initiatives. But I think it being open source, I think it's not difficult to contribute. We'd love to have the ecosystem grow and have more people using it, because then we'll get more contributions, and also it'll become a better provider long term.
Absolutely agree. So where have you seen this kind of used in the wild? What have you seen customers using this, and then what kind of use cases do you see them using this in?
Yeah, I have a few customers that are using this today. I think the biggest use case is how to get infrastructure brought online to be able to delegate that to other teams. So you'll see something like an organization that centrally manages Snowflake, but they don't want to manage every single detail of everything that happens inside of Snowflake. So they will use Terraform to bring up their account structures, their roles, their databases, their schemas, and then delegate the rights of that to DBAs and other teams that then can manage those. That works pretty well. I think a lot of those are in automated systems that have like the keys to the kingdom. So they may have account admin inside of that account, but they're not giving account admin to every team that's actually operating inside of Snowflake. So that works pretty well. I think the bringing online infrastructure works very, very well. Like me destroying it in a second and creating it in a second is a great demo. It's really good for those ephemeral environments for like engineers that are developing an application. They're used to destroying Docker and creating it, but in the example, there's no data attached there, right? Like I didn't lose all my data because I dropped the database. For development life cycles, I think it works very, very well. In production environments, databases have to be treated with quite a bit of care. Things like a destroy in production would be catastrophic and difficult to recover. Those pipelines normally are controlled through CI/CD. Normally there are gates. Normally people can't randomly run destroys in production. The other workflow we really see happening a lot is when people need data migrations. Like Terraform really does not fulfill that need, because that normally requires like reformatting of data, changing of data, modifying of an existing object. And that's something that right now the provider is not great at. I think we'll see a lot of people use other tooling. We have a tool called Snow Change that was developed in-house by quite a few Snowflake engineers There's also a Flyway. There's a few open source projects that also try to work after that. We see a lot of customers using DBT today to manage a lot of those. That I see those as like data change. Those act like imperative systems, but we'll see companies use declarative to like bring up the infrastructure, and then after the data is residing there, use imperative to evolve the data as it's sitting.
Makes a lot of sense. So for our readers, where can they go to get started? Learning more about Terraform itself and how to use Terraform with Snowflake.
Yeah, so Terraform specifically, I think that's a HashiCorp project. So I would search for that. The Chan Zuckerberg provider is a good start there also. There's tons of documentation on the provider itself. Guides.snowflake.com, as I mentioned earlier, has that exact demo that I showed here. So if you want to dig directly into the weeds and solve that exact problem, that's where I'd go. If you're looking for more general things around Snowflake, there's community.snowflake. We have developers.snowflake. We also have quite a bit of content inside of Medium developed by engineers at Snowflake that help to try to speed up the onboarding and going through these. I think the ecosystem is vast for things that work on top of Snowflake. That also means you have to weed through like the mess of the good and the bad. I think Terraform has an amazing spot for people that want a declarative system. It isn't for everybody, but for someone that loves that speed and not managing code and managing all the complexities of that code over time, I think it's definitely worth looking at.
Awesome. And if people want to learn more about you, follow you online, or possibly get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is to find me on Twitter, B Culberson on Twitter. You can also search for me in LinkedIn, Brad Culberson. Pretty easy to find online. If you message me on Twitter, DM me, I'll try to get back, or just mention me in a tweet. But I do follow the community quite a bit. So if anybody has any questions, concerns, also if you're a current Snowflake customer and you want to have access to me and my team, I work out of the field CTO office in Snowflake. So we are accessible to existing customers. If customers reach out to your AE or an SE and say, hey, we'd like to pull in experts in this area, my team is full of experts in different areas. I happen to be one on Terraform that you would probably get if you did have a need there.
Great. And so thank you, Brad, for coming on today. For everybody there, my name is Daniel Myers, Developer Relations here at Snowflake. And be sure and check out developers.snowflake.com to learn more about Terraform and any other developer-related resources. Thanks. See you next time.